Hi everyone, I hope that you guys are doing well and getting through the semester okay. My project for my connective integration course was surveying music students and staff at LVC to determine the overall stress in the music department. So this presentation includes the results from that survey and also ways to manage that stress at the end. As I'm sure you saw at the top of the voice thread, this is kind of a long presentation. There's 30 slides to go through. So I made a table of contents so that if you're interested in only one part of my presentation, you can just skip to that slide and not have to sit through the whole thing. So the survey results start on the next slide, and you can see I included a little breakdown of specific categories of questions I asked. The results from a survey about the effects of social distancing on the mental health of a musician start on slide 18, and then the final portion of my presentation is on various methods of self-care. I highly recommend watching that section, if nothing else, especially with the current finals push. It might teach you something useful. So those start on slide 22. My survey offered an option for both professor and student responses. I received 40 responses in total, and 5 of those 40 responses were responses from professors. Of the 35 student responses, 26 are music education majors, 4 are from audio music production majors, 4 are pursuing Bachelor of Arts concentrations, and 1 is a music business major. The first question asked participants to rate their daily stress on a 1 to 5 scale, with 1 being little to no stress and 5 being very high stress. As you can see with this chart, 80% of participants rated their stress as a 4 or 5, meaning they found their stress to be moderately high or very high. For the next question, I offered a free response space where participants could share some of their daily activities that cause stress. Of the 40 survey responses, 29 participants described their stressors. Of those 29 voluntary responses, 27 people indicated music-related classes and activities as their leading cause of stress. Other common stressors included work, social obligations, or club-related activities, along with some issues with time management. The next question asked participants to select ways they cope with their daily stressors. I offered a handful of methods as well as offering a space to enter other coping mechanisms. As you can see, an overwhelming majority of participants selected stress eating as a coping mechanism. You can feel free to read the specific percentages I listed. Some of the common responses I had in the others category included crying, seeking spiritual comfort such as attending church groups, and time spent with friends and family. My next section of questions asked about struggles with diagnosed issues such as depression, anxiety, other mental health issues, and physical health struggles. Participants were then asked to select which, if any, struggles directly related to their music course load. .5% of respondents said that they have struggled with depression in the last year at LVC. On a 1 to 5 scale, 86.4% of respondents rated the severity of their depression as a 3 or 4, meaning they found the severity of their depression to be moderate or slightly high. 35% of these people said their issues with depression directly correlated to their music course load. In the set of questions regarding anxiety, 85% of respondents said they have struggled with anxiety in the last year at LVC. On a 1 to 5 scale, 43% of respondents rated the severity as a 4 or 5, meaning they found the severity of their anxiety to be slightly high or very high. 42% of respondents ranked the severity as a 3, meaning moderate severity. 70% of these people said that their issues with anxiety directly correlated to their music course load. 45% of respondents said that they have struggled with other mental health problems in the last year at LVC. On a 1 to 5 scale, 42.1% of respondents rated the severity as a 4 or 5, meaning they found the severity of their struggles to be slightly high or very high. 42.1% of respondents ranked the severity as a 3, meaning moderate severity. However, only 20% of these people said their issues with their other mental health problems directly correlated to their music course level. 35% of respondents said that they have struggled with physical health problems in the last year while at LVC. On a 1 to 5 scale, 35.7% of these respondents rated their severity as a 4 or 5, meaning they found the issues relating to their physical health struggles to be slightly high or very high. 28.6% of respondents ranked the severity as a 3, meaning only moderate severity. Only 17.5% of these people said their issues with their physical health directly correlated to their music course load. And this slide is just a chart visually displaying what I was explaining on the last few slides. Breakdowns, per my definition, were severe emotional issues that happened as a result of stress. Some examples I gave in my survey included crying during an exam or meeting with a professor, an emotional shutdown due to stress, a physical illness occurring or worsening due to stress, and basically any other event that had a severe negative impact and resulted from mental health struggles. 80% of participants said that they have had some sort of breakdown in the last year at LVC. Of the 8 respondents who said they have not suffered from a breakdown, 5 of those responses were from faculty members, so that means that only 3 students who took my survey haven't had some sort of breakdown in the last year. The final section of questions on my survey asked participants questions about how they care for their mental health, so most of these questions asked about self-care in some capacity. In the first batch of good news from my survey, 67.5% of participants said that they take time to take care of themselves, and 87.5% of participants said that they practice self-care. However, 72.3% of those people said they use self-care to recover from a breakdown instead of using it to improve their mental health and prevent breakdowns from occurring in the first place. In response to the question, what do you consider to be self-care? Most respondents listed activities such as general relaxation, eating junk food, and distracting yourself from stress with things like Netflix binges. Some participants answered that taking care of stressful activities such as rearranging their schedule, doing their homework, and cleaning their living space is what they considered to be self-care. The final 2 questions asked survey participants if they participate in activities away from music, and then gave the option to share some of these activities. 67.5% of my respondents said that they do participate in activities that don't relate to music. However, nearly half of the responses asking about non-music activities included different stress-inducing activities. Many responses included work, community service, club activities, or leadership-related activities, and so on. This showed me that even when taking a break from music, a lot of musicians are engaging in other stressors in their quote-unquote time off. The next few slides discuss the second survey I sent out after we were sent home from LVC regarding how social distancing affects musicians. As you can see, there has been a slight increase in people rating their daily stress as a 4 or 5 on a 1 to 5 scale. 100% of participants said that social distancing has had some sort of negative effect on music making. Most of the questions were free response questions, so for the next few slides, I selected some responses to share with you. You can read through them at your leisure, because I'm not going to just read them to you, but I hope the responses can show you some of the ways that we're struggling, and, hopefully you can see you're not alone in how you're feeling. Self-care should be used to keep your mental health in good shape to prevent breakdowns from occurring. Self-care is good for both your physical and your mental health. The same way you would take vitamins and eat well to protect your physical health, you should be taking time and creating habits that protect your mental health. Just like taking care of your physical health, sometimes self-care isn't things that you want to be doing. To have a healthy body, you should be exercising and eating healthy, and that's not always easy or fun to do. Part of self-care is getting important tasks like personal hygiene, cleaning your living space, and taking care of important assignments done. This may be difficult in the short term, but is incredibly beneficial for your mental health in the long run. The first, and in my opinion, one of the most effective methods of self-care is sharing your feelings with someone else. By talking to friends, you keep from bottling up these emotions, and you can get the support of your friends during a difficult time. For more serious issues, or for issues you may not feel comfortable discussing with peers, you can also speak to a professional, such as our counseling staff. LVC's counseling services are available during the remainder of the semester, and they even have daily virtual walk-in hours, so you can see someone if you need to. One of the benefits of counseling is that they are often better equipped to help you process and correct negative feelings. For example, my counselor and I are doing cognitive behavioral therapy to help address my anxiety. The concept behind this therapy is that your thoughts affect how you feel and behave. So for example, if you think, I don't want to do this homework because it's going to be frustrating and I'll get upset, then when you sit down to do that homework, you're going to feel frustrated and upset because you told your brain that's how you're going to feel. Since anxiety was such a prevalent issue in my results, I think that doing some research on cognitive behavioral therapy or going to counseling to work with a counselor on changing negative thoughts to neutral or positive thoughts will likely be beneficial for many of you guys as well, since it's been very beneficial for me. As I said earlier, your physical and your mental health relate to each other. I think we've all heard that old saying that a sound body is a sound mind, or some variation of it. A lot of people mark stress eating as one of their main coping mechanisms, and I'll admit that's one of my main coping mechanisms too. When I'm stressed, there is nothing I want more than salty foods. It is scientifically proven that junk food releases happy chemicals and it makes you feel better in that instant, but excessive eating will make you feel worse in the long run. Healthy foods help you keep a healthy body, and when you're in good health, you feel better overall. Exercise is a really good form of self-care as well. Anxiety is rooted in our fight or flight reflex, so the physical sensations you get when you feel anxious are meant to help you escape danger. However, what causes anxiety is often not rooted in physical causes. When humans were in the early stages of development, an anxiety spike was often rooted in needing to flee from a predator. Now we have anxiety over schoolwork, and there's nothing to physically run away from. Doing physical activity can trick the brain into thinking you ran from danger and are safe now, and it will start shutting down the physical aspects of anxiety. Another important thing is sleep. A well-rested body is better suited to deal with stress. Getting a full 8 hours of sleep is nearly impossible for most of us, but many of us would be able to manage our stress better if we were better rested. Meditation is a very good way to gain awareness of your body and your breathing and take some time to be mindful of your tensions so that you can better relax them. This is a video that Alicia made as part of her Connective project, and I think it's a great introduction to mindful meditation, so I recommend checking it out as a starting point if you're interested in meditating. As mentioned earlier, self-care isn't always fun things that you want to do. Rearranging and better managing your schedule can be a great way to improve your mental health, especially right now. If you don't have a consistent schedule, it can be difficult to let yourself relax, as there's no border between yourself and class time. I'm sure many of us are staying up all hours cramming in assignments and then sleeping all day, but it's not the healthiest way to be doing things. Writing out a schedule or just following your old class schedule to work on those assignments can improve your mood and give you a better sense of stability. Saying no to people and prioritizing time for yourself is something that's beneficial when we're, allowed to go outside and spend time with other people. Speaking for myself, I have a lot of trouble saying no to people, and I'll take on more work and activities even if I am not really in the place to handle more work and activities. Sometimes self-care is realizing that you're too busy to take on more work and telling people that you can't do that additional work. Most people will be very understanding, and you'll have less obligations to be dealing with when you're already stressed. When people think of self-care, this is often what comes to mind. This category includes watching YouTube or a favorite show, doing a spa night like having bath bombs and candles and face masks to spoil yourself, playing your favorite video game, hanging out with your friends, and many more activities. If it makes you feel happy and relaxed and doesn't cause harm to yourself or others, it's probably a good self-care method. Here are some assorted things I wanted to mention but didn't want to dedicate a slide to. If you're a religious person, talking to people at your place of worship or seeking spiritual guidance can be really beneficial for your mental health. Going outside and enjoying some sunshine and plants and animals is good for you in general, so I also strongly recommend that. If you don't feel comfortable talking about your feelings, it can be helpful to write them down. This can be simple journaling, or it can be expressing your feelings through creative writing or poetry. Fidgets. These come in many shapes and sizes and variety. You can't always go for a run when you feel anxious, so using a fidget can be good to work out some of your nervous energy. I have 2 fidgets with me to help me focus and stay calm during schoolwork. This is a squishy. It's similar to stress balls, but it's a different material, and it's cute, and I crush it to death instead of, digging my nails into my palm or something that could hurt me. This one is called a fidget cube. These were pretty mainstream a while back, and I like them a lot because they're discreet and they have a lot of various ways to occupy your hands. You can get a lot of fidgets for pretty cheap, so I recommend to use those during times when you can't take a lot of breaks to exercise your anxiety away. Finally, a good one for reducing anxiety is avoiding aggravating factors. You're all going to hate me for this one, but caffeine can really up your anxiety, especially if you're already feeling anxious. Another bad liquid to combine with anxiety is alcohol. We all know the effects alcohol can have on your mental state, so be careful with that. And if something makes you anxious or stressed and you can avoid it, so not stuff like classes or homework, because avoiding that makes you feel worse, trust me on it, then it's good to avoid it to protect your mental health.